So I was just going over and explaining what strides are and how to do them to an athlete. So I wanted to go over that here and then give some of the background of why we use them and how in today's age they become even more important in a training plan. So if you don't know, strides are short periods of really fast running. They're usually 10 to 30 seconds long with usually about a minute break in between. It's not meant to be an aerobic exercise, that the rest is pretty long, and it could even be a walking rest. But it's more about a speed neuromuscular component. And so, yeah, typically 10 to 30 seconds. We want these done about 80 to 90% effort. And a couple cues I give is to tell people we're trying to go as fast as we can while maintaining normal, proper running form. So where it almost look the same as threshold pace or an easy run. And by that I mean our angle, our arms. Sometimes when we sprint, we get a little bit of a different form. We can flail a little bit, we can be hunched over, we can get a little choppy. And so we're trying to avoid that. We want to be going as fast as we can through our full stride, good knee lift, good back kick, normal form as fast as we can. And so most of the time it's going to be around 80 to 90% effort. A good way to do that, and I'll show some examples, we want to find a flat stretch. I have a video of an athlete doing it on a big turf soccer field. That's a great place if we have access to that. Doing them on the track is great. You have a big wide open 100-meter stretch. I have another example I'll show of us doing them on a flat stretch of road that we're about to work out on. Good open space where you're not going to run into traffic, because when we're going really fast, it's harder to dodge obstacles and move side to side. So we really want to clear out the space. A little bit flatter is better. Slight incline's okay, but generally these are done flat. Sometimes we'll have actual hill strides in there, but usually they're done flat. So I was going over explaining that of how to do a stride, and I started getting into why we do them and where they line up in a training plan, and I got a lot of other thoughts from that I wanted to share. So the big two ways that I use strides in my plans are either the day before a hard session, and the reason for that is when we do strides, it's a heavy neuromuscular activity, meaning the brain muscle component. So we're having to send these strong signals when we're doing a stride, like, hey, I'm gonna almost sprint here, so I need that ability to really drive my knee up. It's a lot of hamstring engagement we don't normally get, and that's a skill we have to practice. And when we do that, we get what we call neuromuscular elasticity. So the more we do that, it's easier to do. It stretches out those neuromuscular pathways. So the next time we do it, that kind of speed isn't as much of a task. It isn't as hard to do. Or so if we're doing something that fast, then the next day when we come back and do our threshold work, it feels even smoother because we've already stretched out those pathways and that muscle to get through that full length of the stride. So often we'll do it the day before a big workout. It's very also common to have them the day of the workout right before. We do the warm up, and often for some sessions, we'll have a few strides between the warm up and the main part of the workout. And then, those are the two most common ways we use them in training. And then we'll also use them the same way before races, the day before and the morning of the race, we'll use them to help us get even more warmed up. All the same things. It's going to help us get into race pace a little bit easier. Another reason we have strides the day before a workout or right before a workout is that same on that neuromuscular, our brain sending signals to our muscles. Easy running and fast running are pretty different signals to our bodies. Even how our heart beats, how we sweat, all of it's quite a different experience. So when we do those shorter, faster bits of running, it is a really good signal and flag to our body that says, hey, we're about to do something different. We might be racing soon. We might be working out soon. I'm going to need those muscles turned on and activated. I'm going to need the higher end of my aerobic system turned on and activated. And that feeling sometimes of feeling flat, like, oh, I couldn't use all my fitness. It was hard from the start. We can avoid a lot of that by doing things like strides. And if you work with me, we have specific warm-ups for like some races to turn on the aerobic system, to turn on the neuromuscular system, so we don't feel flat and we feel more prepared to run hard and fast. And so another really important thing to add in. Another thought that I was just having is, I've been talking with a lot of new athletes lately, and I think right now in the current scape of running, Zone 2 is at its peak popularity. Everyone's talking about it and reading it on the internet, and it's I've mixed feelings on that. It's great that we're getting people to slow down on easy days. That's awesome. But I've seen this many times with the almost obsession with Zone 2, that someone's coming across this and they're reading that, hey, if you slow down everything, you'll get faster if you just put all your runs in Zone 2. And for some people, it can be a huge positive, because some people are chronically running too fast and getting hurt, so they can't ever progress. So if they do a lot of Zone 2 work, it can allow them to train more consistently, maybe avoiding some injuries. It can allow them to spend some actual time in that lower, truly aerobic zone. But there's a point where we plateau and the benefits stop showing up with just purely Zone 2 training, for many reasons. For one, if we take a newer runner, for people who haven't run a lot, don't have a long running background, didn't have a competitive running background, didn't run in high school or college, just about anything they do is going to get them in Zone 2. A brisk walk might get them in Zone 2. So we can build that up for a while, but it's going to be really hard to progress their paces without some turnover speed work, because for newer people, Zone 2 is going to be quite slow. So it might be a demand aerobically and cardiovascularly, and we might figure out how to perfectly ride in Zone 2 workouts so that we're getting the right type of stimulus and demand for the heart and lungs. But we may never be challenging and getting the right stimulus for our legs and our tissues and our joints. So they might always be a little undertrained. Now, when we throw in something like strides, it can be the perfect balance for someone who's done a lot of Zone 2 training, because it can start to give that stimulus for our legs and our muscles, to counterbalance all the really slow, easy training we've been doing. And strides are so short that we're still going to be much less likely to get injured than if we're running too fast on easy days, or we throw in hard workouts really soon. So for a lot of folks, that's often the next progression up. When I get those athletes who have come in and who got bit by the Zone 2 bug and they've been doing a lot of slow, easy stuff, we want to keep that in. That's super important. That next step is then, okay, we're taking those easy days, we're starting to put some strides on those, maybe 2-3 times a week. That's the next building block. And then from there, we might start to add in a little bit of threshold work into those workouts, while keeping our easy days easy. Zone 2 with strides, we bring some threshold in. Then the next step for folks might be longer, harder threshold, start adding in a long run, maybe some continuous tempo type of stuff, and then fully at the top, we, eventually, if it calls for it, we might add in some harder, sustained, longer speed power workouts, if we need that for someone who's maybe running a mile, 5K, 10K, maybe even up to the half. But yeah, just a thought, the longer continuation of why strides are awesome and helpful, and how to use them in a plan, and you know, like I was saying, how they can be a benefit and an addition to someone who's been utilizing Zone 2 work really well. So yeah, just my thought on strides. Okay, cool. That's all I got. Peace.